living longer, living healthier, living better than ever before. Welcome to Mountain Pacific's Healthy Living for Life, a weekly series that gives you the information, education, and expert insight you need to become an active participant in today's ever-changing healthcare climate. Here now is today's program host.
For many, the holiday season is an exciting time of year, but for others, all of the shopping, entertaining, festive eating, and drinking can cause stress and derail healthy habits, affecting our physical and mental health negatively. Welcome to Healthy Living for Life, a show dedicated to helping you do just that. I'm your host, Beth Brown, and today we're going to talk about how to keep the holidays merry and bright by prioritizing our health and connecting with loved ones in new ways. Stay with us. Welcome back to Healthy Living for Life. This morning we're talking to Carolyn Dalemole, who is the co-founder of the Silver Post, and we sure appreciate you coming back and joining us again this morning, Carolyn. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Beth. Good to see you.
You too. So we're going to talk about connections and connecting with loved ones over the holidays, but let's start with a quick definition to make sure we're on the same page. What do we mean when we say connection?
Yeah, I love defining this because sometimes when we imagine connection, we think, long conversations and lots of people around us. But really, the essence of connection is just a sense of closeness. So it's more of a feeling than what is physically around you. It's this any interaction where you feel acknowledged, you feel seen and heard, and just that sense or emotion that you're close with the person that you are connecting with.
And of course, we know connecting with people is good for our mental health. Can you speak to that a little bit?
It is, yeah. It's been shown to release certain chemicals in our brain, like dopamine and endorphins, these feel-good hormones. So it's shown to boost our mood, reduce stress when we feel connected, and even improve self-esteem. There's many studies out there about the mental effects of feeling connection, and also the kind of disadvantages to lack of connection. But one of my favorite studies actually was conducted over the course of 80 years. It's ongoing. They followed several hundred people through their life over the course of 80 years, like I mentioned. And one of the main results of the study was that social connection is one of the most important factors for happiness and health.
Wow, that's amazing. And that must be quite a team doing that for 80 years.
Yes, this comes from Harvard, so they have all the resources.
Gotcha. And I'm assuming that there are benefits to our physical health as well. Is that right?
Absolutely. We can feel like those mental benefits we can sometimes experience. If we feel connected, if we feel close to people, we can feel that boost, and we're very much aware of it. But then there are benefits to our physical bodies, keeping us strong, healthy. There's actual data about the longevity we experience when we are, surrounded by people that we feel connected to. And also, most of the research is focused on the lack of connection and how that hurts our physical health. So if you look up, loneliness and the impacts there, the lack of human connection is more harmful to our physical health than things like obesity, smoking, high blood pressure, those things that we're often hearing about, but more and more impactful are that lack of social connection. So we want to make sure that we are taking charge of this in our life and trying to create more connection for our well-being.
Yeah, wow. So let's talk about that in respect to the holiday season and how that might affect our connections with our loved ones.
Yeah, the holiday season definitely brings up lots of gatherings and the commercials we see on TVs around holidays, like families are together and they're so joyous. And it's this kind of quintessential picture we have around the holiday season. In the reality for most of us, the holidays can basically magnify where we currently are. So it's a good time to become self-aware and say, if you're anticipating the holiday season, if you're with family on holiday and you feel like that stress, or you feel extra boosts of endorphins and very happy, it's a good moment to kind of like tune in and say, where do I stand in my connections with those people around me? And then either say, I want to strengthen them because I'm feeling a lack and I want it, Or you could say, wow, and appreciate how connected you do feel to those people and try to create more moments like that throughout the year, not just the holidays.
Yeah, I love that. Well, let's talk about when we can't be around our families, though. Folks scatter, and so we can't always get together around the holidays. How do we stay connected then?
Yeah, so this is another moment to look back at that definition. So it's more of the sense of closeness than it is physical closeness. So even if you're not able to be in person with certain people that you love, be it family, friends, people from your past, you can still create moments of closeness with them, that emotional side. So any way you can interact, just think, okay, if I can't be with them in person, then how else could we interact? At the Silver Post, we love to think about mail. Mail is so special nowadays.
Yeah.
It's not as common. So getting a note in the mail, a card, maybe some pictures, that can have an extra boost of those endorphins. But phone calls or video calls are also becoming very popular, especially post-pandemic. So any format of interaction is worthy of that kind of connection, and you can still get the benefits even if you're not in person.
Oh, well, that's good. And you talked too about if you want to try to strengthen those connections or get those connections going again, maybe when you are with family, how do you do that? Are there conversation starters that you could suggest, or how do you create those connections at those get-togethers?
Yes, so conversation starters I find to be really helpful for folks who are trying to connect to a different generation, because sometimes when we're talking to a peer, it comes a little bit more naturally. But if you're going up or down a generation, we see at the Silver Post that conversation starters can ignite that new sense of connection or just bring it back. So conversation starters we have kind of two guidelines there. One is try to say something or ask something that's open-ended. So not yes or no, not a quick answer, like how's school, good, but instead something a little bit more exploratory, like what's something that has made you feel really proud this year, or looking back on this year, or looking forward to next year, what are you really hoping for? Something that's going to bring out some of their hopes or dreams. And that would be like the second element is the holiday season is a nice moment to look back or look forward. It's usually falling at that end of the year where we tend to reflect or plan. So just ask family members about their past year and highlights from it. Ask them to tell you a story, or looking forward. Maybe someone had a rough year, this past year. So then ask them looking forward, what are you really hoping out of next year? Or do you have any goals that you're thinking about for next year? Things that you want to be focused on. And that can sometimes be a great prompt to get them excited and sharing with you about their dreams or their visions. And it can create a happy connection.
Those are great tips. Thank you so much, Carolyn. We actually ran up on a break, so we need to pause here. But when we come back, we're going to talk about how to gift more but spend less. Stay with us. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back. We're still talking with Carolyn from the Silver Post, and thanks for sticking around with us, Carolyn. Let's talk about money. That can be a big stressor around the holiday season, and because a lot of people feel that financial strain. How can people spend less and still really enjoy the holidays?
It's totally possible. Back to connection. You don't have to spend money to have meaningful memories and feel that love with people that you might be giving gifts to. But in terms of gift giving, we do love budget-friendly gifts here at the Silver Post. One really actionable one for people that we hear some good feedback on is the idea of setting just a gift budget. Not just going out and shopping and then, oh my goodness, everything is really stacked up, but what do I want to spend per person, or what is a total budget, and then take that out in cash in an envelope is a nice way to set a limit so you know how much you're going to be spending in total. Me personally, in our family, we try to set a budget per person and then stick to that. But a second tip would definitely be to think about something on the clever side. You can definitely spend less if you put some thought into it or try to do something homemade or something meaningful to the person. Say they really love coffee. You can get them a nice bag of coffee, a new mug, and maybe a book to read with their coffee. And packaging those thoughtful gifts kind of distracts away from needing to spend a lot of money on the gift because the specialness comes through.
I love that. And so let's talk about that a little bit more for those folks who are on a limited budget. If they're retired or things are a little thin this year, what's your advice there?
If that's the case, then definitely shop the sales. Try to hit a Black Friday sale or Cyber Monday, which is the same thing, but just online, where companies are massively reducing the cost of their products so that you can get in your shopping early, stick to your budgets, but get in when it's on sale. Another thing to be doing is compare prices. So you might, for instance, write down a few ideas per person, maybe 3 ideas per person. And then when you shop and compare prices on those gifts, choose the one that maybe is that lower price because you knew that they liked all 3 things, or if all 3 things are a good idea, just end up shopping and buying the one that is more budget friendly.
And you mentioned Cyber Monday and online shopping. How do you find deals out there? Is that really where we can save money?
Online is a great way to save money if you have access to some online shopping and you feel comfortable with online shopping. It is a very quick way to avoid some overspending kind of like pitfalls, if you will. Yeah. For instance, one thing that online often does for people is it reduces impulses. So instead of getting distracted and buying more or buying that really glitzy thing, you go online and you can stay focused because you search for that specific item. And then step 2 is it's very easy to compare prices online. If you find something on one website, go to Google and search for that product to see if it's cheaper at another store. And then third is when you're online, you can actually often filter by price. So if you're on a website, there's usually a feature that says, search by price or a price range. And you could click on the button that says $0 to $25 so that you're only seeing the things that are in your budget. And that's definitely different than in store. It's hard to filter by price when you're in a store. Online, it's very common.
That is a really good point and a great tip. So let's talk about those folks like me. I have a huge family, lots of people to buy for. What can I do to help keep my spending down?
Yes, this has happened actually in my family as well. When I got married, my list doubled, right, of people that I now am expected to buy a gift for. So what we ended up doing on both sides of my family, my in-laws and my side of the family, is we huddled up and we said, do we want to draw names? So, all of a sudden I have a dozen people to shop for. If we all draw 2 names, then we each can get very meaningful, very focused gifts from a fewer amount of people, but it absolutely is saving all of us money. And it also helps us, we find, spend less time thinking about the gifts and more time thinking about each other or spending time together. So we really liked drawing names. And if that's not really receptive or if the group doesn't agree on that, then sometimes it's really helpful to think about, again, that your total budget. So not just, oh my gosh, look at my list, but what's my total budget this year and how to allocate that across the different people on your list. When I am allocating sometimes like that, it's helpful to think, what have we done in the past? And sometimes folks do the homemade gift. So if you ever received a homemade gift from that person, maybe they would love a homemade gift back. So a little bit of reflection per person can help you know where you might be able to get a little bit more creative.
That's great. So a lot of us overspend anyway. How do we get back on track?
Yes, it is hard. It's so much easier said than done. Talking here today, it's nice to think about it in theory, but there are 2 things I would say. If you find that you're often overspending despite really good intentions, is just plan to have really, really budget-friendly light spends in January and February, or in the months leading up to the holidays. So for our family, sometimes we just go out to eat less in January. We stay home, it's snowing, so we cook soups and we try to make some fun, cozy memories without going out to restaurants. Because for us, we see that restaurants are a big spend. So kind of spending less in January and February is a really great follow-up to the expensive holiday season. But then you could also look at the year coming up. So after this holiday season, if you felt that strain on your finances, then maybe it's a good thought to plan out for next holiday. And it feels like it's far away, but if you have 12 months, what do you want to save each month? Just put that aside, and in any way that it looks like for you, just use the year to prepare for next time.
Those are great tips, Carolyn. Now we're out of time. That flew by, but you gave us so much good information. Thank you very much.
Yes, good luck to every shopper out there. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays. And we'll come back after these messages to talk about how to prioritize our health and well-being over the holiday season. Stay with us. Welcome back to Healthy Living for Life. Joining us now is Chief Medical Officer Dr. Doug Kunzweiler from Mountain Pacific Quality Health, a regular that we love to have here on Healthy Living for Life. So thanks for coming. All right, so let's talk about our health and well-being over the holidays, and let's start with weight gain and all of the food that happens over the holidays.
Yeah.
How common is it for people to gain weight over the holidays?
Well, that's actually interesting. When people are surveyed, they typically say, oh, I always gain 5 to 8 pounds. When people are actually studied, the weight gain is real, but it's usually more like a pound or maybe a pound and a half. The big problem is not getting rid of it after the holidays. It can accumulate from year to year. So it's not exactly a myth, but it's typically not as bad as people think it's going to be.
Okay. So how do you stay on track with all of the cookie exchanges and the parties? And there's just so much food around this time of year.
Yeah.
How do you stay on your diet or make healthy choices?
Well, I think you have to confront reality and you have to make a plan. You can try and just stumble through like I do year after year, but that's not the best way to do it. But make a plan. Sit down and think about how many parties you are invited to, and it's like parents and in-laws, other family members, co-workers, office parties, friends have parties. But sit down and pick from those and say maybe I'm going to go to 3 or 4, and send a nice note to those you don't attend. So that helps if you just realize your limitations to begin with and make a plan to reduce the number of parties you go to. And then there are some strategies that are helpful before you go to the party. It's good to eat something before you go so that you don't arrive starving and lose control right away. And then take a small plate, if you can find one, and take smaller portions. And really, you shouldn't deny yourself foods that you love, but just take smaller portions. And try to eat slower than you normally might. Keep up the conversation. It's good to try and eat more vegetables and fruits if those are offered. And if they have a variety of desserts, maybe limit yourself to just 1 or 2 and take small portions. When it comes to drinking, that's another big source of calories. And I usually tell people, it's fine to have a couple of drinks, but drink slowly, just like I recommend eating slowly. And then after you have an alcoholic drink, make your next drink sparkling water. People will think you're drinking vodka. So, and in that way, you may wind up drinking only 2 or 3 alcoholic beverages instead of 5 or 6. So those are some strategies that can be helpful.
Yeah, perfect. Put a lime in that sparkling water.
Yeah,
and
there
then
you go. There you go.
Perfect. Good tips. I'm definitely listening. So let's talk about how busy it is during that time of year, and people are running around more than usual. How do you slip physical activity and exercise into that?
Well, it helps if you have a routine to begin with. If you've got a routine that you've been following, really try hard to stick to that. And I usually recommend that people try and exercise earlier in the day before you get caught up in all kinds of last minute errands. But the other thing that can be helpful is to try and incorporate some exercise into your holiday celebration, and you can make that, a tradition, that we go for a walk and a long talk after Thanksgiving dinner, for instance, or do a Black Friday hike and make that a tradition, or a post-Christmas sleigh riding party, or that sort of thing, and try and get other people involved in it. And most people enjoy walking and talking, and that's a very good thing to do after a big meal.
Yeah, I love that.
So try and get those kinds of things going.
Great. Let's talk about overall health and some of the other things going on over the holiday season, including it also being flu and cold season. So how can we get together with our friends and family and keep those germs at bay?
Yeah, well, of course, the very best thing you can do is make sure that you're immunized. Get your flu shot at least 2 weeks before the holidays arrive. And I urge people to get fully vaccinated against COVID too. If you haven't had your booster, go ahead and get your booster. Make sure that you're up to date on all of your vaccines. And then if you're going to be traveling, say by plane or bus, I would strongly encourage people to at least consider wearing a mask on the plane or on the bus. Try to avoid big crowds. I know that's hard to do, but particularly crowded bar scenes are where you're going to get exposed to a lot of germs. So try and go to a quieter place. And then, of course, we shouldn't forget to wash hands and consider wearing a mask if you're in a high-risk area.
Yeah, good
But
advice.
immunization is really the most important thing.
Okay, great. Let's switch gears and talk about mental health. The holidays can be hard for people. Why do you think that is?
Oh, I think it's a variety of reasons. Things are very busy. You're stressed because you have lots of errands to run. You don't get as much sleep as you normally do. You probably drink a little more alcohol than you normally do. And then people have very high expectations of how they're supposed to feel during the holidays, and reality sometimes falls short of that. And so all those things contribute to stress and feeling a little bit worse than usual. Most people that have behavioral health problems say that things are quite a bit worse for them during the holiday season because of those reasons.
Yeah. So do you have tips to reduce that stress?
Yeah, I think, again, following your usual routine as much as you can is helpful. And make sure that you get proper rest. And again, trying to limit the number of parties you go to, and the things we already talked about can be helpful in that regard. It's good to get out and socialize. The holidays are a good time to reconnect with old friends, and all those things make our spirits feel better. So don't isolate yourself, but don't overdo it either.
Okay, we have about 30 seconds left. Final thoughts and tips about health and wellness over the holidays.
Well, the holidays, in my mind, are supposed to be all about friends and family and kindness. So volunteer, go down and help out your local food share instead of going to 8 parties.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you, Dr. Kunzweiler. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And thank you so much for joining us. We hope you'll come back and see us again next weekend. Until then, stay fit, stay well, and stay healthy for life with Healthy Living for Life. Happy holidays.
Healthy Living for Life is brought to you by Mountain Pacific Quality Health in partnership with AARP Montana. We'd love to hear from you. If you have suggestions for future programs, visit our website at mpqhf.org or call us at 406-443-4020. You can also catch us on YouTube by visiting our website and clicking on the Healthy Living for Life logo. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions.